We've covered Donald Trump Jr. podcasts in the past, but we have not covered a podcast quite like what I'm about to play for you, or some moments from it. And this is his latest episode of the podcast Triggered that Donald Trump Jr. does. And as I've talked about before, it's never a delight, but this time it got particularly weird, as you're about to see. And what I mean is, we will get to what you would refer to as stuff of substance, like J.D. Vance, the Republican senator, spewing some dishonest stuff in the interview that happened later in this episode. But earlier, he was taking comments from the audience, and it led him to repeatedly insulting, disparaging his fiancée, Kimberly Guilfoyle, in a truly uncomfortable way. So that's what I want to get to. And actually, even before that, a little bit earlier chronologically in this episode, as he was reading comments, he seemed a little bit too excited about the idea of him being his own father's vice presidential pick.
Don Jr. for VP. Watch the left explode. Trump, JD. Yeah. Well, Don. By the way, there is an argument to be made that Don Jr. as VP would be the greatest insurance policy for my father ever. Junior for 28. I appreciate that. Thank you. Don Jr. for VP. Now we've started something.
Oh no. Okay, fine. Clearly the people have spoken. I'll do it. And then he does it again here.
Grinnell for DHS. Scratch your nose if JFK Jr. is alive. Come on, guys. I don't know. That one's always been a long shot for me, but hey, you never know. Junior.
I'm sorry, I forgot about that part. We do know. Don't say you never know. We do know. JFK Jr. is not alive. Don't play into the QAnon conspiracy theories. This is what happens when your audience is a little bit off the deep end. You have to say stuff like, I don't think JFK Jr. is alive, but you never know. Because he knows if he says absolutely not, that conspiracy theory is ridiculous, stop it, QAnon folks, he would have some backlash among his audience. Okay, continuing.
Junior 28. Make the debate for VP a shooting competition. Well, I imagine I win that then, if I'm in the mix. But maybe not. But I do pretty well on those. Let's see. John. Just
absolutely riveting podcast, as you can see. And that leads us to him discussing his fiancée, Kimberly Guilfoyle, in not the most positive way that you could possibly imagine. And the context is, as I told you, the whole first section of the podcast, first half hour, was him just reading comments. And a lot of that was spent having commenters pitch ideas of people who could be in a second Trump term. That's why it came up that maybe he should be the VP pick if people really talk him into it. And so then Kimberly Guilfoyle, his fiance of many, many years now, was pitched as a press secretary option. And that leads him to say this. Now, when you first watch it, you're going to think, Luke, come on, that's just a little joke. I got you. But wait until I show you how many times he says this throughout the podcast.
Kimberly for press secretary, perfect. You know what? That'd be great. She can do 6 days a week in Washington, D.C. I get peace and quiet. Everyone wins. Don't tell her I said that. That would be trouble. But
okay, so that's the joke, right? Okay, all right. He made a joke. The old ball and chain, that whole thing, right? It's common. Well, then it keeps happening, and it gets more and more awkward. Here comes up again.
I've been there. Cash for AG, Kim for press secretary. Yeah, I think Kim for press secretary is a great idea. Okay, I think she moves up to D.C. I get 4 years of peace and quiet. Like I said, everyone wins. Everyone wins. But
yeah, but see, you made that joke already, so now we're a little bit confused as to why he made the same joke again. But let's see. Surely he's done, right? He's done. Okay. He made it a second time. He thought it was a mic drop moment, so why not pick up the mic and drop it again? Then he'll be finished.
Okay. Maybe you guys want to get down to the rundown? We'll talk a little bit of the news of the day, but then we'll get to JD. Kimberly is not too wishy-washy. Yeah, that's if there's one thing Kimberly is not, it's that. So Don Jr. sleeping on the couch tonight. Fact check, true. But hey, listen, sometimes you sleep on the couch and it's just worth it because it's just worth it. So yeah, if Kim is watching, I'm probably in trouble. If you guys know her, you're probably texting her right now. Hopefully she's not watching. Kim has a great voice. Yeah, Kim's an animal. Like she'd be.
Oh gosh, no, don't. I know that's meant as a compliment, but after the I'm willing to sleep on a couch so I can tell you all that I really wish she could be in DC so I could have some time away from her. Let's stay away from animal being a term used anywhere in the conversation. Goodness gracious, Don.
She'd be good at that. She's one of the, and she does her she's a worker also, so she'll do the homework to, Don Jr., you're digging a hole. Yes, thank you, Ratchet. I'm aware. Kimberly's a fighter. She takes no nonsense. I agree. You're a riot. Listen, we got to have some fun, right? I mean, like I said, I think she'd do a great job at the job. I get peace and quiet. Everyone wins.
Yeah, so by my tally, let's see if I can pull up 3 times. We're on the 3rd time of making the joke, okay?
You think she's tough? You think I don't have to put up with that shit? I do. That doesn't just turn off,
I'm sorry, can we hear that again? What?
We got to have some fun, right? I mean, like I said, I think she'd do a great job at the job. I get peace and quiet. Everyone wins. You think she's tough? You think I don't have to put up with that shit? I do. That doesn't just turn off, when you're not on a show or you're not on TV. Kim is a gem. Look at you guys kissing ass.
Okay, so then he wraps it all up by saying that she's tough on TV. You think she's tough on TV? You should see what I have to deal with. Goodness gracious. This is not what you're supposed to be doing publicly. For the sake of not being insensitive, I won't say where you're supposed to be sorting these sorts of issues out, but it's not publicly. I can tell you that. It's not on your triggered podcast. Someone's triggered, and it ain't the left coming from this Donald Trump Jr. Podcast. And so just to document, 3 times the joke about if she moved to DC, then I could have some peace and quiet. 1 time referring to her as an animal. Again, that was meant as a compliment. And she's so tough that she's hard to deal with. Wow. What a podcast. And then we get off of that. And I've said to you all, and we should have a couple more things before we get to the JD Vance interview, that Donald Trump Jr. just tends to look pretty disheveled, distraught, etc. on his podcast. And it seems like even those commenting have started to notice that.
Am I that? I don't know. I didn't think I was out all that much. But maybe I was. I don't think so. Because I saw a couple of those. I don't wear makeup. I'm probably a little sweaty because it's kind of hot down here right now. But I don't really wear the makeup on TV.
Alrighty. And then I want you to imagine this. Sometimes I say to you all, can you subscribe to this YouTube channel? Like right now, can you please subscribe to this YouTube channel? I might even say, could you click the join button? Get the members only bonus show on weekdays and sometimes on the weekend, and get bonus content, support the work that's being done. The reason that I feel comfortable saying that is I feel like the content being brought is worth some people supporting, right? I feel like there's enough work and enough value coming out of it that maybe people would want to support it. But just imagine being 34 minutes into a podcast and it was about that. Insulting your fiance, talking about you being vice president, reading comments, taking 10-second silent breaks in between reading comments, and thinking now's the time to remind people this needs to get out. We need to get the word out, and this is the vehicle to do it.
Okay, I don't know. Let's get to the work. Also, hey, while I got you guys, while you're tuned in, while you're making fun of me for being Orange Man Jr., make sure you guys are hitting the like button. Like, share, subscribe. Let's make sure we get the message out. Let's make sure we grow the movement. The rest of big tech is stacked against us. We need to work harder, faster.
So you heard him reference big tech, and he's saying after what you just, we need to get that out, right? We need this to get out, and big tech is suppressing it. That's the reason. Okay, that's the reason my podcast is not getting as many views as I wanted to or listens, because big tech is suppressing me. It's not because I've spent the first 34 minutes of my podcast reading comments with empty space, 10 seconds of empty space in between every comment. And it reminds me of this 2020 post.
Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Just watching my algorithms get crushed. I guess I did something to piss off the Instagram gods, so hopefully you're seeing this stuff anyway. We'll do what we can. Talk to you soon.
Right. So the advice that many people gave to this was maybe the reason why your algorithm is not pushing you out enough and you're not getting the engagement you like is because the quality of your video content is this, which in the case, if you're not listening, or if you are listening to the podcast version of the show and you can't see, is him just sort of phone on the stomach as he's laying in bed, which is not the best camera shot. I think most experts on such things would advise. And same thing with the podcast. It may not be that big tech is against you. It might be that just a little bit more engagement at the beginning, engaging content could help to grow it. And it may not feel like big tech is coming down hard on your podcast. But then we get to the interview, the valuable part of the podcast, you might say. And it wasn't much better. But here he asks vice presidential potential pick JD Vance if he's interested in being the VP for Trump. And of course, JD Vance is the Republican senator from Ohio.
Listen, lastly, I got to ask you, because you're believed to be on the short list for VP. I believed maybe, a weak word. I think I'd probably have some inside knowledge on that. But, if you get that call, what's the answer?
Well, look, man, I've told you.
I've never even thought of it. I definitely haven't been practicing my convention speech if I get picked every single night in the mirror.
I told everybody I want to help your dad however I can. And so certainly if he asks me, I want to help him. Yeah. Now, here's the thing, as much as the media has reported on this, I mean, I think you certainly know more about this than I do because I saw your dad yesterday. I was with him all day or half the day, and we didn't talk about vice president once. And I've never talked with him about the VP thing. And so my assumption is this is a little bit of media speculation. Maybe it's a little bit real, but he'll make his decision. I'm sure.
Yeah. So interestingly, I've told you all before that I thought Kristi Noem was at the top of the list before her public crash and burn because of the cricket murder story and the fake Kim Jong-un meeting story. And so because of that, she's definitely not on the list anymore. I think I would put JD Vance now as probably the person Trump is most likely to pick, but we'll have to see, especially given JD Vance did used to have some horrible things to say about Donald Trump, which is sort of just a given now. Almost every Republican that pretends like they love Trump previously knew how horrible Trump was, but now they're too afraid to say it. But JD Vance really did have some insults for Trump. And so I don't know if that could discourage Trump, but I do think JD Vance is top of the list. Unfortunately, here is some thoughts on the Trump trial from them.
But do you think the jury understands that, again, whether it's Stormy Daniels, whether it's Michael Cohen, that these aren't exactly credible witnesses? These are not people that you would choose, to defend yourself in any way, shape, or form. Do you think they get that, or does it even matter in New York because it is so lopsided?
Yeah, well, so Don, one of my grandmother's most important bits of wisdom to me, and I called her Mamaw. Mamaw would always say, "Never give a person an important job if you wouldn't trust them to babysit your kids." Yeah. And let me tell you, Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen not getting anywhere near my kids, right? No babysitting of the Vance children from those two people. So the fact that they're the prosecution's star witness is really bad for their case.
What an interesting argument to make. I wonder why Stormy Daniels, a porn star, and Michael Cohen, a guy who did have a very questionable position and did some questionable things, to be certain, and a convict and a liar and all those things. I wonder why they're witnesses in this case. Maybe because Trump had an affair with one of them, and so that's a part of what he's trying to cover up, so that's why it's relevant to the case. And so he brought her into it. It's not her fault that he then tried to cover it up in ways that could have been illegal. But that's why she's a part of this case and has to tell that story. Then Michael Cohen, why did he do all those things that were so low character? Why did he try to cheat people out of money? Why did he assist in potentially violating campaign finance laws and then trying to cover that up with the falsification of business records? Why did he do all these things that makes him, in your mind, not the most credible witness? Because Trump directed him to. So the reasons that they would be bad witnesses only make Trump an even worse criminal defendant. And also the defense has evidence to corroborate the testimony of the likes of Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels. But very, very strange. I think if you don't want Michael Cohen or Stormy Daniels babysitting your children, you should really have a question mark in your head as to why you're supporting the guy who slept with one of them and directed the other one to do all the bad things you're mad with him about.
There are so many issues where, like, basic common sense. Okay, here's an idea, Don. Let's send all of our industrial base to China, and then let's like fight a war against China.
Yeah.
Okay,
That'd be great.
That's really stupid. That's really stupid. And so you have like these people where they seem to want to do the obviously dumb thing each time. And again, I think just calling it out.
Yeah, so that's a pretty easy way to make an argument. It happens to be unproductive and dishonest, but it's easy to depict this ridiculous straw man of your opponent's argument. And then by contrast, you look intellectually superior because you're arguing with something they don't actually believe. That's just silly. And so the argument I guess he's making is that Biden, the thing that's not common sense about Biden is that he wants to send industry and manufacturing to China and then go to war with China, which I wasn't familiar that was Biden's strategy here, especially given things like the Chips and Science Act, trying to make investments in American manufacturing in an industry that China has the upper hand on so we can be more competitive. Same thing with recent actions on tariffs regarding China by President Joe Biden, plus zero evidence Biden wants to go to war with China as shown by his diplomacy with them. So it's all inaccurate. But again, if you don't know that and you just take JD at face value, yeah, it sounds pretty anti-common sense to do what he's alleging the left wants to do. I'll leave it there. Let me know what you thought of all that. Let me know what you thought of the insulting of his fiance. Let me know what you thought of him pitching himself as vice president and then his interview with JD Vance.